Hey everyone's. Welcome back to the channel. In today's story, HOA Karen calls me at midnight and demands I open my door so she can use my private jacuzzi. Sometimes, people do things so incredibly ridiculous that you can't even stay mad at them. It's not just the absurdity of it all, but the fact that someone who's been a constant thorn in your side finally gives you a good story to tell. Before this incident, Karen hadn't really done much in my life except remind me exactly why so many people can't stand HOA neighborhoods. But little did I know, she was about to take it to a whole new level. Now, let's dive right in. It was the middle of the night, and I was on vacation with my spouse. We had just landed at our destination and spent the day exploring the city. By the time we had dinner and settled into our hotel room, we were both exhausted. The clock on the wall read 12 a.m. and we were ready to sleep. Just as I was drifting off, my phone rang, startling me awake. Groggy, I fumbled to grab it, expecting to see a call from a friend or a work-related issue. But instead, the name Karen flashed across the screen. I blinked, confused. Karen was the HOA president back home, but I hadn't exchanged numbers with her. The call caught me completely off guard. I answered, trying to sound awake. "Hello, Op. It's Karen from the HOA," she said, her voice sharp and demanding. "I need your house keys. Right now." I rubbed my eyes, unsure if I was still dreaming. "Karen? It's midnight. What's going on?" "There's an emergency. I need to get into your property," she said impatiently. "Where are your spare keys? You know, the ones for your jacuzzi?" I felt a chill run down my spine. Why on earth would Karen be calling me for this at this hour? "What's the emergency?" I asked, trying to shake off the drowsiness. "It's none of your business," Karen snapped, her tone dismissive. "Just give me the keys and I'll explain later." I tried to process what she was asking. My privacy felt violated in an instant. "Karen, it's midnight. I'm on vacation. You can't be serious." "I need those keys now," she insisted. "This is an HOA emergency, and if you don't comply, I'll make sure it's a bigger issue for you." "Karen, are you threatening me?" I asked, trying to stay calm. There was a brief pause before she spat. "You're being ridiculous, stingy bastard," and slammed the phone down. I stared at my phone in disbelief. Had she really just threatened me over something this trivial? The nerve. I tried to go back to sleep, but my mind was racing. What was she up to? Why had she called me at this hour? It was only the beginning of a bizarre night that I would never forget. Ever since I moved into this HOA neighborhood, Karen had been a constant presence in my life, and not in a good way. At first, I thought she was just being friendly, one of those overly eager neighbors who wants to make sure you feel welcome. But quickly, I realized that her version of friendliness was a thinly veiled obsession with control. Karen seemed to know my every move. If I was out in my yard, she would appear, usually with some casserole or homemade treat in hand, her tight smile stretching wider than necessary. It always felt a little forced, like she was trying too hard to prove that she was just being neighborly. But what she didn't realize was that her constant presence was far from comforting, it was suffocating. I began noticing that she was showing up when I least expected it. She knew my work schedule. She even seemed to know when my wife and I were out of town on business trips. I hadn't told her anything about our schedules, yet somehow she was always there, popping by with another casserole, acting as though she were doing us a favor. The worst part was that she convinced herself that we were great friends. One time, when my wife was away on a trip, Karen knocked on the door with yet another casserole. I was busy, trying to catch up on work emails, but I couldn't avoid her. "I thought you might need this," she said, practically shoving the dish into my hands. "Your wife's away, and I know how hard it must be for you. Poor thing. Let me know if you need anything else. I'm always here." I stood there, stunned, not knowing how to respond. I wasn't about to start a confrontation, but it was becoming clear, This wasn't just about being a good neighbor. This was about control, her need to know everything. To be involved in everything. It felt like she was watching me, waiting for any excuse to make herself indispensable. I could barely get a moment of peace without wondering if Karen was spying on me from her window, ready to swoop in at the slightest sign of the need she thought I had. Even the contractors working on my backyard pool had noticed her behavior. They told me that Karen showed up almost every day to check on progress, as if she had any right to be involved in the process. They even assumed she was my wife. It was getting unbearable. But I didn't realize just how bad it was until one night, in the middle of a heated discussion about our upcoming vacation, I did something that would change everything. I was on edge. The vacation was supposed to be a break. But after everything that had been happening with Karen, I just couldn't relax. Every moment I wasn't thinking about work. I was thinking about her, her constant visits, her unsolicited advice, and her need to control everything. It got to the point where I couldn't even enjoy the idea of having a private backyard space without wondering if Karen was watching me. So, in the middle of one night before we left for the trip, I took a precaution. My wife had no idea what I was doing when I got up from bed, quietly slipped downstairs, and moved the location of the emergency house keys I had hidden outside. I wasn't taking any chances with Karen. If she ever needed to get in while I wasn't around, I didn't want it to be that easy. The next day, we left for our vacation. We were both eager to get away from the constant chaos of daily life and the nagging pressure of Karen's presence. The flight was smooth, and after we checked into the hotel and got settled, we were both exhausted. It didn't take long before we were in bed, ready to sleep. Then, at midnight, I was jolted awake by the shrill ring of my phone. Groggy and disoriented, I checked the screen. It was Karen's number. My heart sank. Why was she calling me now? Of all times, I answered with a low, irritated tone. Hello, Op. It's Karen. I need the keys to your house. Right now, she said, her voice cold and commanding. I sat up straight, instantly awake. Karen. What the hell? It's midnight. What's going on? There's an emergency. I need access to your property, she continued, sounding more like a bureaucrat than a concerned neighbor. Where are your emergency keys? I need them right now. Karen. What emergency could possibly be happening at my house at midnight? I asked, my voice rising with irritation. You don't need to know the details. Just give me the keys. It's important, she insisted, not even attempting to explain. I felt a surge of frustration and suspicion. No, Karen. I'm not giving you the keys. You've crossed a line. And I'm not going to let you in. There was a long pause on the other end of the line before she spoke again, her voice laced with venom. If you don't give me those keys, I'll just have to break in myself. And don't think I can't make your life miserable. I'm on the HOA board. Remember? I can make sure this gets turned against you. You don't want that. My blood ran cold. She was threatening me now. You're threatening me? I asked, incredulous. You're being unreasonable. Karen shot back. I have the power to make this much worse for you. And you know it. Don't test me. Op. My grip on the phone tightened. You're crossing a serious line. Karen. You will not get these keys. If you can't explain the emergency to me, then you're not getting anything. Not a chance. She didn't respond immediately. But when she did, it was with a final, spiteful remark. You're a stingy bastard. Op. You'll regret this, she spat before hanging up. I stared at the phone, my mind racing. Was she really serious? Did she think she could just waltz into my property because of some HOA emergency she couldn't even explain? The nerve. I tried to go back to sleep, but Karen's threats kept echoing in my mind. Just when I thought I could shake it off and go back to sleep, the phone buzzed again. This time, I didn't even have to check the number to know it was her. I was done. This wasn't just about her wanting access to my house anymore. It was personal. As the hours dragged on after the phone call, I tried to push thoughts of Karen out of my mind. But it was hard, her threats lingered like a storm cloud on the horizon. It was well past midnight, and I could feel the exhaustion creeping in. But I couldn't seem to shut off my mind. I glanced at the hotel window, watching the city lights flicker in the distance. Meanwhile, my phone kept buzzing with new messages from Karen, each more hostile than the last. Just as I was about to try and get some sleep, another notification popped up. It was from Evelyn, my elderly neighbor back home. Evelyn and I had exchanged pleasantries a few times over the years, but nothing that suggested she would be my ally in this strange HOA battle. Her message was simple: "You might want to take a look at this. It's on your security cam." I was confused. Security cameras? I had never considered that Evelyn might be watching my backyard. But after everything with Karen, I wasn't exactly surprised. I opened the video file she sent, my heart skipping a beat as I saw what was happening in my backyard. At that very moment, through the grainy footage, I saw Karen sneaking into my yard. She wasn't alone. A man, who I didn't recognize, was with her. The two of them were working together, trying to break into my backyard gate. Karen's face was tense with frustration, her hand gripping a crowbar as she attempted to pry open the lock. "What the hell are they doing?" I muttered under my breath, unable to tear my eyes away from the screen. The man with Karen seemed just as clueless as she was. He swung at the lock with the crowbar, missing the right spot and instead bending the metal around the lock. Karen's voice was muffled but still audible, filled with impatience as she shouted at him. "No, you idiot. Not there. Hit it here," she yelled, her tone sharp as she directed him. They were clearly trying to break into the backyard, and I had no idea why. As I continued watching the video, my mind raced. Were they actually trying to break into my house? What were they after? But the madness didn't stop there. Evelyn's voice came through in a second. More urgent message: "They're messing with your jacuzzi controls. They're going to cause some serious damage. I can see them tampering with it. You need to call someone." The footage showed Karen and the man huddling around the jacuzzi control box, which was housed in a locked outdoor panel. They had somehow managed to force the box open, and I watched in disbelief as Karen ripped out the wires with reckless abandon. "You've got to be kidding me," I whispered, already picturing the nightmare of repairing everything when I got back home. It got worse. As the man fiddled with the wires, a bright flash of light burst from the jacuzzi area. The entire patio light flickered on in a strobe effect, lighting up the entire yard. It made it look like a crime scene, only adding to the chaos they were causing. The electrical surge was too much, and within seconds, I could see the light bulb burn out and shatter. "This is insane," I muttered, my hand gripping the phone so tightly I thought it might crack. But then, a loud, frustrated exclamation came from Karen. "Why isn't this working?" Her voice was tinged with panic now. The man, who was still trying to fiddle with the controls, grumbled something, and I heard Karen scream. I just wanted a damn night to myself. For once, Evelyn had caught all of it on camera. It was as if the universe was handing me exactly what I needed to expose Karen. She had been caught, not just trespassing but damaging my property. I couldn't believe it. Then, in a twist of fate, Evelyn's camera captured the next scene. The man, frustrated beyond belief, threw the control box into the pool, causing the water to splash as it sank. The entire scene unfolded in front of my eyes, and Evelyn was right there, recording it all. "Oh, the cops are here now," Evelyn messaged. "I'll keep watching." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Karen had broken into my backyard, tampered with my property, and somehow managed to involve a stranger in her chaos. As if it wasn't enough, the cops were now showing up, likely alerted by Evelyn's call. But the drama wasn't over. Evelyn's last message made me smirk despite everything. "Looks like Karen's hiding her accomplice from the cops. This is better than TV. What had started as an ordinary night had turned into the most absurd and damaging chain of events I could have imagined. Karen and her accomplice had just made a huge mistake. And I had the proof to bring her down.